Mitchell sat at the table working, and while doing that, she watched Brad catch up on laundry for the week. Yes, Brad was doing laundry, and this made Mitchell so happy, contented, and loved. Hello everyone, and welcome once again to another episode of The Review with me. I'm your host and your walkthrough reading coach, Mrs. Peace Terminal. Have you been able to catch up on all our previous episodes? Anyway, here we are reading the book The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman, and we are in chapter 7. In fact, chapter 6 was fun, and I hope you have been able to watch each and every one of the episodes. Alright, so today, if you've been able to guess from my story, the topic of the chapter is actually acts of service. Yes, we will be talking about acts of service. So what is acts of service? Acts of service is doing something that you know your spouse will want you to do in order to make them feel loved. Remember, when we talk about love languages, we talk about intentionally showing love in order to meet the emotional needs of your spouse and ensure that their emotional love tank is filled up. Alright, so if you're ready, can you please come with me and let's move straight into chapter 7. Now, this love language called acts of service requires a lot of thoughts, planning, time, effort, and energy. I don't know if you agree with that. If you do agree with that, please put it down in the comment section, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and follow. Tag someone who you think needs this particular love language. It could be your spouse or a friend, someone else. Just tag someone and let's go on. So I said it requires planning, it requires love, it requires effort, attention, it requires time, it requires a lot of energy. All right, so now I have also told you before now that why I love this book is because it is filled with a lot of practicals. It is filled with a lot of true life stories. Now, there was a very long story in the book. I really will not want to go into that, so we can make this video and this podcast as short as possible. Now, based on this story that was told and reviewed in the book, Gary Chapman came up with 3 important points, and that point was a universal philosophy that cuts across every aspect of relationship, especially marriage. Now let's go straight into the 3 points. Number 1, marriage, what you do in marriage or what you do before marriage is not the same thing as what you do in marriage. If you remember the chapter 1 of this book, we talked about the in-love experience, the in-love obsession. So at that point, you can, honey, I need bone straight, and your bone straight is ready. I need to go to this and it's ready. That is before the relationship of marriage. But after marriage, things change, responsibilities begin to show up, and according to Gary Chapman, he said this is marriage. Now, there was a story of a man who wooed his wife. He kept on pursuing her before they got married, and then finally he was always doing things for her, and then after they got married, things started changing. And one day she had a conversation with him and she asked him, honey, before we got married, you were so intentional about getting me things. You were intentional about doing things for me. Now we are married. How come I have to really ask and ask and ask before you get some things done for me? And he smiled and told her, well, that was the campaign season, and during campaigning a lot of things have to be done, a lot of money has to be spent, but immediately after you win an election, no more campaign, Abby. Alright, so that just goes to explain the in-love obsession. After marriage, things you were expecting or that you were seeing in the relationship may not be exactly as it is because seasons change. Now, number 2, love is a choice. It cannot be coerced. It cannot be coerced. Okay, you can't force love. Love makes requests. It doesn't make demands. And at any point in time when love begins to make demands, the person may end up doing it. The spouse may end up doing that thing you want, but he will not be doing it from a place of love. Hence, their own love tank will not be filled up. Remember, the aim of acts of service is to ensure you are meeting the emotional needs of your spouse. So number 2, love is a choice. It cannot be forced. And then finally, based on that story, number 3, your spouse criticism of you provides a very clear clue of their primary love language. What does this mean? The criticisms of your spouse is an ineffective way of pleading for love. You don't have my time. You don't have my time. Every time you cannot even buy something for me. You cannot do this one. Those simple little criticisms and those things is actually showing you someone who is crying out for love, but they really don't know how to put it. And that's why Gary Chapman calls it an ineffective way of pleading for love. Now, this is a note to everyone. We all have to learn how to communicate. If you remember in the last chapter, in the previous chapter, when we're talking about the gift of presence, and we said if you actually love the gift of presence, communicate with your spouse. Communication is something that is very important in marriages and relationships. There's no how a relationship can grow without communication. Now, based on these 3 observations, he made note of something very important that happens in relationship, and it is called the doormat or the lover philosophy. Now, what is a doormat? A doormat practically is something physical which we use to wipe our feet from stains, or you're just going into the room or in the house and then you wipe your feet. Now, in marriages and relationships, we've observed that there are a lot of people who are doormats instead of lovers in that relationship. What do we mean? They have no will of their own, and they have no feelings of their own. They live to please their spouse, and this shows up mostly in a family or in a relationship where one of them actually is an acts of service person. They begin to do things. The doormat ends up finding themselves doing things for this other person just so that they can gain his love, they can win his love, and most times they never really win the love. Instead, they feel unseen. They are actually not, they don't just feel unseen, they're actually unseen. Now, doormats most times are manipulated by guilt. After all I've done for you, especially in this part of the world, Africa, most times, where we have people who take somebody and train the person, and after training the girl, most times with the plans of getting married to that person. Now, most times, most young ladies want to just go to school, all right, or they want to get a particular training, so they agree to the relationship, not because they love this person, but because of what they want to get. Now, at the end of the day, when they meet somebody they love, I'm not saying their approach is actually right, it's wrong. You come out plainly, and that's why I talked about communication. Now, at the end of the day, when they meet someone they are actually in love with, they now want to leave this relationship, and they get manipulated by guilt. After training you in school, after all I've done for your parents, after ensuring that your family is okay, after doing this, you want to leave me. So you find out that that person ends up staying in that relationship as a doormat. They are manipulated by guilt. Another way you can find doormats are people who are caused by fear. If you leave me, I will kill myself. I will kill you and I will kill myself. If you leave me, I will find your family and I will destroy all of them. Your father will lose his job. You keep causing the person by fear, and the person remains in that relationship because of fear. That is not a good way to show love, and it can never at any point in time meet someone's emotional need, because either way, none of them is a good expression of love. Hence, as an individual, we should never allow ourselves to be found in a doormat situation. You have to learn how to love yourself first. Treat yourself to your own love language, and that's why it's very important for you to discover your love language. Treat yourself. If you are a gift person, buy gifts for yourself. If you are a words of affirmation person, tell yourself, affirm yourself. When you love yourself, you will consciously not put yourself in a situation where you will not find love, because you love yourself too much to not allow yourself be in that situation. Now, in order to avoid being in the doormat situation or in a doormat position instead of a lover position, I don't really need to go into the essence of the lover philosophy, because we all know lovers are actually the opposite of doormat. Now, in order not to be in a doormat situation, we and our spouses have to be willing to change, examine ourselves and change, move from the stereotype situations so that we can learn how to express love. Now, there are a lot of people that never saw their parents express love. They saw their father always sitting down in the sitting room, watching TV, reading the newspaper. Their mom is breaking her back, cleaning the house, taking care of the children, cooking food, and then after everything, she comes, she's so tired, she's worn out and everything. It is actually important that we start changing from the stereotype. You have to be willing to change, move from that time. Gone are the days when things happen like that. Nowadays, marriage is partnership. You can actually do chores together. Remember the story I talked about at the beginning? She was working and he was doing laundry. Alright, so what does that tell us? There is no reward for being stereotypes. Instead, there are tremendous benefits when people begin to work towards filling up the emotional needs or fulfilling the emotional needs of their spouses. Now, let's also note that for some people, acts of service may not come easy because of their upbringing. Yes, we know we have some ajebota or some people who have never lifted their fingers to do anything in their house. But unfortunately, or rather, you have to change, and that's why change is constant. You are now married, and you are married to someone whose emotional needs has to do with acts of service. You can learn it. Something you can learn. So you just keep at it no matter how difficult it is. And then the spouse also, who the other person is trying to fulfill your emotional need, should learn to encourage. While I'll wrap up with this story. In the book, there was a lady who was actually an act of service person. Now, at first it was an issue between she and her spouse, but later on, the spouse now decided, after learning, he decided to do it one bit or one step at a time to try and fill up his wife's emotional love tank. And that day he decided to do laundry. So today we are laundrying. So he decided to do laundry. Now he put in all the clothes in the washing machine, and then he put bleach, not minding that some clothes were colored and some were white. He put bleach and he put a wrong detergent in the washing machine to wash all the clothes. Most of the clothes got bleached, their colors changed and everything. Now guess what? Because he was actually intentional and he was willing to actually make his wife feel loved. She never got angry. She, in fact, according to she, she was so proud of her husband. She felt loved because he actually was trying to love her in her own language, and she encouraged him. With time, of course, he got better. What are we trying to say? Acts of service may not come easy to some people, but you must keep at it. That does not mean, because I've never done anything before in my house like that. I can't do it. No, that's not an excuse. You must try. Put in the work. Remember, marriage is intentional work. And the spouse, learn to encourage your spouse. If they make mistakes, some of them have never done it before. This is their first time of trying it out. Even if they make mistakes, encourage them. So based on this, we are going to be pulling the curtain on chapter 7. Now, many acts of service are actually household chores. Yes, many acts of service are household chores, but not all of them. So my question to you listening is, do you know any other act of service that doesn't have to do with household chores? Please put it in the comment section, and also tell us where you're watching from. Thank you very much everyone for staying with me. I hope you had fun, and I hope you enjoyed this review. I will be hoping to hear from each and every one of you. Tell me how this review has been impactful to you. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and follow. Invite someone to join us while we recultivate once again the reading culture in our society and our generation. Thank you very much, and God bless you.